Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your hosts, Mike
and Torya.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic. YPN people, I don't know about you, but I love helping out a friend. That's why I want to shout out my friend Brian Little and his podcast, Your Favorite Blockhead. This is the only show that manages to weave together peanuts and MMA into one heck of an amazing podcast. You can find Your Favorite Blockhead wherever your favorite podcasts reside and at yourfavoriteblockhead.com. Do me a huge favor and listen to Brian's show. You'll be entertained and you'll help out a friend. Now, as I said, let's get into today's topic.
You know, I was thinking about it today, and for like the last year, actually 2 years. For the last 2 years, I've been chasing my tail to improve my credit score.
Right.
And then some people online say to you, like, well, why are you wasting your time doing that? I mean, it's just is what it is, and that's what's going to happen. And I disagree, because I say that you can put systems in place to, like, make sure your bills don't just get paid on time, they get paid early and things like that, so that you increase your credit score by making payments on time. You know, like, I highly recommend that you make, like, your first 1 or 2 car payments when you get a car loan yourself. Just to make sure they go through. You don't want someone coming and repoing a brand new car.
Right.
But then once you know it goes through, every bank offers auto pay. Have them take the money from your bank account automatically. There you go. You'll never forget. And guess what happens then? Every time you pay that car payment, which is a huge part of your credit score, by the way, you get more points and 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 more points. I mean, my credit score in that 2 years has gone up 200 points.
Yeah.
200. I'm not stuttering. It's actually 200 points. And so it's just important. And you know, what did we really learn? Even though places say they have a, quote, grace period for a payment, you can't take advantage of that. That's for emergencies only. Because if you take advantage of it, eventually they're going to report you as habitually late.
Right.
That's just what they're going to do. And they have every right to do that, because that grace period is just where they're not going to charge you the late fee. They didn't say you weren't late.
Right.
So that's one thing you learn, is make sure that your bills get paid a little bit before the due date. That way, if there's any issues, you can check and make sure that that's been posted. And always keep a copy of the receipt, by the way, when you pay. Always, always. But you know, speaking of what you learn when you're trying to, like, chase your credit score up the ladder and make it higher and higher and higher, I think the biggest thing you learn is don't take more credit than you can handle financially. That's
right.
One thing you really learn. And the other is the importance of on-time payments.
You just need to make the bare minimum payment, but it has to be on time.
And sometimes it's better to make a small payment for a few months so that they report the payment history and then pay it off. And I mean, that's what I've been doing. And I just said my score went up by 200 points. I mean, and I've bought things and mentally set aside the cash, right, and then just pulled from that to pay the bill. And then the bill's paid. So you paid in like 3 payments, 2 small ones, and then a kaboom, lump sum, get rid of it. But you get the payment history reported to the credit bureau, and that's right. What you want, right? But then you got this Biden now. Remember what he was going to do on the campaign trail? He was going to cancel student loan debt. Just cancel it. Just flat out cancel it. It's done. How do you do that when it was banks' money that went to these kids? How do you do that? I mean, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Plus, the last I looked, the president isn't the one who makes decisions about how money is spent.
It's just the most asinine thing in the entire universe to force all taxpayers to pay the debts of people who chose to go into debt to go to college.
And you know what? I got nothing against people like that. We have student loans that we have agreed that we're going to help pay off. But
But do I think the government should pay off
should
their
they
student
pay off
loans?
our loans?
No.
No, they really should not. But please, don't come at me with then I guess you're not taking the help. Because accepting what's offered to you, even if it's against your way of thinking, doesn't mean you agree with it.
Why wouldn't we take the help?
Well, sure.
If that goes into effect, we're going to end up paying in our taxes for everybody else's student loans.
Exactly.
So
that's the point.
Why don't we apply that first to ours?
Since it's owed to you first, your tax money can go to that and pay for it. This is why we've talked about the tax system before, and this is why the tax system we discussed would work so much better than this stupid way.
Right.
It just would make more sense because you get to say, all right, I know I owe $80,000 for taxes. So 10 is going to go to this program. And then I want to give 30 to this program over here. Now I'm left with 40. And you know what? I like this one better than that one. So I'm going to give all 40 to that one. And there's my $80,000. I've now paid it and I'm good. But I got to choose where the money went. And I think that that's where taxes should go. Even if the government's going to distribute it, you should be able to mark on there, I want this percentage of what I'm paying to go here, this percentage to go here, and this percentage to go here. Boom, done. That's how I see it.
That's fair.
And I think that these people getting their loans paid off, I mean, more power to them if it actually happens. There are many who are saying it's going to go before the Supreme Court pretty quickly. And the Supreme Court will say, no, he doesn't have the authority, just like he didn't have the authority to extend the eviction moratorium. I mean, you know, they'll step in. So be careful, because knowing our government and the way it works is, since they won't be able to buy the political capital by buying you guys off, what they'll do is this. The Supreme Court will say, nay, you can't do that. Bad government. Very, very bad. Then government's going to go, oh, wait a second. We paid that guy over there $20,000. We paid that guy over the 10. We paid that guy 10. Paid that other guy 20. Take it all back. And they can do that because they gave it to you contingent upon them being able to help you. But if the court is saying they can't help other people, well, then in their eyes, it's unfair to help you, which is still stupid and inconsistent, because when you think about it, they're only helping a certain number of people. And even then, they're only helping a tiny amount. When you have a kid going to a top-notch school and getting a top-notch education, the help that's offered by the government in the form of financial aid is basically student loans. That's what people don't talk about enough. That's basically where the help comes from, unless you're lucky enough to get a college that offers scholarship. But my point here is, I don't blame the people getting into the loans unless they got into it and couldn't afford it. That's a different story. I don't blame them. I blame the government for allowing it to happen in the first place.
Well, all right then. Tell us how you really feel.
Sorry, I'm opinionated on this topic.
Apparently so. I think if the government really wanted to help students out, they shouldn't be covering their loan in any semblance. Cancel the interest. So that all these people who are posting online that they took out $175,000 in loans, but holy shit, $175,000 in loans. They took out all these loans, and they've been paying and paying and paying, and now they
can't pay it off. They can't pay it off.
More.
Yeah, they can't pay it off fast enough, and so it increases rather than decreases in value.
So stop I could get behind them canceling the interest.
That's a proposal I read about in the paper today that somebody who's already in Congress is presenting as like an idea for a law, is to just eliminate the interest, like you're saying. And I think I'm with you. That would be the answer.
Well, because it's taking money out of the tax base, but it's not costing us anything as taxpayers.
Well, correct.
Right.
Correct.
I could get behind that.
You know, it's like the story I told you before about the person who was like, you know what? Why are you waiting until January? It was like before Christmas. Why are you waiting until January? How about if we just give you a couple of extra weeks for free in the program, and it'll still end at the same time as if you started in January. That's a good pitch because that's a person now who cares about your outcome because he's giving you a freebie right there on the spot. Well, the student loan tie-in is if the government, like you said, if they really wanted to help, they wouldn't be like, oh, here you go. Here, we're going to bite off a teeny tiny bit of your apple that you owe. Here you go. Here's a teeny tiny bit. Kapow. All right. Instead, they should be saying, you know, all that interest that you're being charged, which is why you owe through the butt. Yeah, that stuff. Yeah, we're gonna cancel that. Yeah. That's what we're canceling. Now, when they pay back their loans, whomever loaned them the money is made whole.
Right.
And they were able to get the loan because the government guaranteed it. That if they didn't pay, if they defaulted, they would step in and they would be the insurance and pay for it.
Right.
So there you go. Good system right there. Good system. Why don't they follow that?
Because they're dumb. And that wouldn't garner them enough votes.
I think it's more the second than the first. But
they're pretty dumb.
They're also pretty dumb.
Politicians in this country and many others don't understand basic economics or how to think a plan and all of its potential consequences through from beginning to end. At all. Well, they're just useless.
What I don't understand is you got guys like Joe Manchin who were so staunchly against Build Back Better because he correctly stated that spending money right now by the government would merely increase inflation. That is a correct assertion, by the way, 100% correct. And I don't think there's any economist who would disagree with that statement. So,
okay,
there you go. I'm going to go there. He said that, but then, because they greased his palm a little bit, decided to go ahead with the stupid, pared down version of it, which is still like
all pork.
$3 trillion of pork. And it's spending, which he said he was against because, spending by the government leads to an increase in inflation. His words. So what happened to that? Oh, I know what happened to it. He sold out.
Yeah.
That's what happened to it.
Just absolutely
unreasonable. He used to be the most popular politician in the country, and at this current time, apparently, he is the least popular politician in the country.
Less popular than Joe Biden himself?
Yep.
They could have the Joe Club. We could throw eggs at them.
It's maddening that they think that just no one's going to notice, for instance, that this student loan thing, they know it's not going to go through. So you watch, they'll delay paying out the money because they know that it's going to get canned. And then they can go, oh, I'm sorry, we were going to pay you the money. But
you had it right here, earmarked for you. But those damn Republicans in the Supreme Court,
they blocked it. That's going to be the play, right? But hopefully people will remember that they were smart this time. Because this time around, they were like, oh, hold on a sec. You were opposed to that. And now all of a sudden you're for it? That sounds like you're trying to buy votes, which is exactly what it is. He's trying to buy the votes.
He desperately needs to buy the votes. Otherwise, he's going to get like 2.
So we'll see.
Him and his wife.
So we'll see what happens because...
And maybe Hunter, because he did some pretty good work protecting Hunter.
Yes. But see, we'll see because there's a lot of people that are moderate Democrats and independents who are very much upset by this whole payment of student loan debt. Because they call it student loan debt forgiveness. But what they failed to mention is forgiveness just means they're transferring responsibility from you
to us. Yeah.
That's what that means. So you're still paying it off. But you're not just paying your own now. You're paying every mother bleepers.
Right. And it's going to cost like $300 billion this year or something like that?
Yeah. 300 is one of the conservative estimates. Up to 500 billion, I've heard.
Interesting.
And then they say within 1 year, the amount of money that they took off the books of student loans, that 500 billion, will be back on.
Okay.
So essentially it's pointless.
Right. Well, they're a bunch of idiots.
Well, idiots buying votes. That's what that's all about. Idiots buying votes. And
bunch of clowns.
Unfortunately, the clown show wins a lot of the time when that happens.
Let's hope today's not that day.
That's why people have to speak about it. You know, you just need to say, hey, what about? They don't have to say any more than that. Just, hey, what about? You know why? Get these people talking and they are bound to screw up their story.
Yeah.
If they don't, then it might be true what they're saying. I always feel like if someone can say the story slightly different but essentially the same every single time, you know, that it's probably true. Now, if they say it exactly the same, word for word, every single time, you know they've rehearsed it. It's not true.
Pretty freaking much.
So I don't know. I think they just gotta go with it now. Like, it's weird what's happening with our society where we're made to believe a certain thing, and if we don't, bad. You're over here now. You're banished to outer Siberia. Like, it's insane, and it causes stuff like what we're talking about, where people then take one viewpoint over here, but their real viewpoint is something different, and that's because in public they kind of have to say what the public wants to hear.
So the moral of the story is forgiving, and I'm putting finger quotes around that, student loan debt is bad.
Yes. Why is it bad?
Because it's bad.
Because it cost us, the taxpayer, $300 to $500 billion with a B dollars. That's a lot of money.
You know, I may not have gone to college in this country, but I still went somewhere to a post-secondary institution that I had to pay for. And my parents worked their asses off so that I wouldn't have any debt.
Yeah. I know, we've discussed it ourselves, and that's admirable. But you know what I was sitting here thinking was that's even inconsistent, because even the far left people aren't happy with the 10 and 20,000 because they don't say it's enough. They don't think it's enough. So in the sense, who is happy with it? Like, really, truly happy with it?
Just forgive all the student loan debt. Oh, you got a student loan? Never mind. It's done now. Bye.
That's what the far left wants.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't...
And then free college for everybody going forward.
Exactly. And I just don't get who they think is going to pay for
In
that.
a country that already taxes at least 50% of your earnings over the multiple different kinds of tax you're charged.
Yeah, like how do they think that they're going to be able to pay for that? That just...
Keyword is they didn't think.
Well, yeah, and that sort of brings us full circle back to the beginning about not thinking about the ramifications of their actions. And that ties it up in a pretty neat and tidy boa constrictor.
Bedtime worthy bow?
Yes, I think it does say bedtime. Hold on, let me look. It does. It says bedtime right on there.
Good night, everyone.
Hasta la bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.